Ancient mystics and quantum physicists agree on one startling fact. Human emotions generate measurable energy that influences reality at a fundamental level. This isn't New Age speculation. It's a phenomenon documented across civilizations and increasingly validated by modern science. Think about the last time you experienced an intense emotion, whether ecstatic joy or profound grief. Remember how physically depleted you felt afterward? That exhaustion wasn't just psychological fatigue. Something was quite literally extracted from your energetic system. Why do intense emotional experiences, both positive and negative, leave us feeling physically drained, as if something has been literally extracted from our bodies? The answer might be more profound and unsettling than we imagine. What if ancient Gnostic texts describing archons, harvesting human emotional energy, weren't metaphorical, but describing a genuine energetic exchange that modern science is only beginning to detect? What if, as explorer of consciousness Robert Monroe documented, there exists a substance generated by human emotional experience that serves as a vital resource in the cosmos? By the end of this exploration, you'll understand the mechanics of emotional energy exchange described across multiple ancient traditions and recognize how to consciously participate in this cosmic economy rather than being an unconscious producer. At Arcane Axioms, we extract verifiable patterns from ancient wisdom to illuminate the hidden mechanics of existence. In the late 20th century, consciousness researcher Robert Monroe documented extraordinary encounters during his out-of-body experiences. During one particularly profound journey, Monroe received what he described as a package of information, a direct download of knowledge about a substance called louch. According to this revelation, louch is a rare and precious energy generated through the carbon-oxygen cycle, specifically through the emotional experiences of living beings. Monroe was informed that human emotions, particularly in their most intense forms, produce this special energy that is then collected and utilized by entities beyond our normal perception. What's remarkable is how closely this modern account parallels ancient understanding of emotional energy across multiple traditions. This concept Monroe encountered isn't new at all. It's a rediscovery of what ancient alchemists called quintessence, or fifth essence. While medieval alchemists are often misunderstood as merely seeking to transform lead into gold, their deeper work involved the refinement and transmutation of subtle energies. The true philosopher's stone wasn't a physical object, but a method of purifying and elevating consciousness itself. In ancient Egyptian tradition, we find a strikingly similar concept in their understanding of Ka, the vital essence that animated both humans and gods. Egyptian offering rituals weren't simply symbolic gestures. They were sophisticated energy exchanges where emotional and vital forces were transferred to nourish divine beings. The hieroglyphs for these energetic transactions appear on temple walls throughout Egypt, documenting a cosmic economy that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. The understanding of emotional energy as a harvestable resource appears consistently throughout human history. Its earliest documented appearance comes from ancient Egyptian texts dating to approximately 2500 BCE, where offerings to the gods were explicitly described as energetic nourishment rather than material gifts. The opening of the mouth ceremony, performed on statues and mummies, was designed to create a channel through which K energy could flow between realms. By the 2nd century CE, Gnostic texts were describing what they called archons, interdimensional entities that feed on human emotional energy. The Nag Hammadi Library, discovered in 1945, contains explicit descriptions of these beings harvesting what they called the sweetness of souls. The Gnostic text, On the Origin of the World, describes how these entities take the light from the first Adam, a reference to extracting vital essence from humanity. Meanwhile, across the world, indigenous shamanic traditions independently recognized similar phenomena. The Hopi described kachinas, who could extract and utilize human emotional energy, while Australian Aboriginal traditions speak of clever men, who could protect people from having their vitality drained by malevolent entities. These traditions developed sophisticated protection rituals that bear remarkable similarities, despite no historical contact between these cultures. The consistency of these accounts across unrelated civilizations suggests they weren't merely projecting cultural biases, but observing a genuine phenomenon through different cultural lenses. When we compare Eastern and Western approaches to this energy economy, fascinating patterns emerge. Eastern traditions developed chi or prana cultivation systems explicitly designed to generate, store, and circulate vital energy. Practices like qigong, pranayama, and tantric techniques all recognize that emotional states directly affect the quality and quantity of vital energy produced. Western Hermetic traditions, though using different terminology, developed parallel practices for similar purposes. Paracelsus, the 16th century physician and alchemist, wrote extensively about what he called mumia, a vital force generated by emotional and mental states that could be collected and transferred. His medical treatments often involved managing this energy exchange between patient and healer. What both traditions share is the recognition that different emotional states produce distinctly different energetic signatures. Fear, anger, and grief generate dense, easy-to-harvest energies that require little refinement. Love, compassion, and ecstatic states produce more refined energies that are more difficult to extract, but far more potent. The symbolic language of energy harvesting appears consistently in world mythology. Consider the story of Prometheus, usually interpreted as a tale about the gift of fire to humanity. A deeper reading reveals it as an account of energy theft, Prometheus stealing vital creative fire from the gods and transferring it to humans. His punishment, having his liver eaten daily by an eagle, symbolizes the gods reclaiming their vital essence cyclically. Similarly, the concept of sacrifice has been grossly misunderstood in modern times. The original meaning of sacrifice wasn't about appeasing angry deities through destruction. The word's Latin root, sacre facere, means to make sacred. Sacrifice rituals were sophisticated technologies for transferring emotional and vital energy from the physical to non-physical realms. The intense emotions generated during these ceremonies created massive amounts of louch for collection. Ancient mystery schools understood this principle intimately. The famous Eleusinian mysteries of Greece, practiced for nearly 2,000 years, utilized a carefully orchestrated sequence of emotional experiences, from terror to ecstasy, to generate specific energetic states. Initiates weren't merely learning spiritual truths. They were participating in a cosmic energy exchange that benefited both humans and non-physical entities. Modern science is beginning to detect and measure what ancient traditions have always known. Dr. Fritz Albert Popp's groundbreaking research in biophoton emissions has demonstrated that living cells emit measurable light that changes dramatically based on emotional states. His studies show that cells in states of stress or fear emit erratic, incoherent light patterns, while cells in states of love and coherence emit stronger, more organized light. The HeartMath Institute has extensively documented how the human heart generates a measurable electromagnetic field that extends several feet from the body and changes dramatically with emotional states. Their research shows that emotions like appreciation and compassion create coherent heart rhythms that affect not only the individual, but extend to influence the electromagnetic fields of others nearby. Perhaps most intriguing is how these findings connect to quantum consciousness research. The famous observer effect in quantum physics, where particles behave differently when observed, appears to be influenced by the emotional state of the observer. Studies at Princeton's Peer Lab suggested that human consciousness could affect random number generators, with the effect size correlating to the emotional intensity of the participants. These scientific discoveries are progressively validating what ancient Egyptian priests knew when they conducted their elaborate K maintenance rituals. Egyptian temples functioned as sophisticated energy management systems, where priests and priestesses worked to generate, refine, and direct vital essences. The architecture itself, with its precise proportions and alignments, amplified these energetic transactions. The Greek Eleusinian mysteries operated on similar principles but with different methods. Initiates underwent a careful sequence of fasting, drinking the sacred kykeon brew, and experiencing dramatic reenactments of mythological events. Modern analysis suggests the kykeon likely contained ergot derivatives related to LSD, creating profound altered states that generated massive amounts of emotional energy for collection. Historical accounts of mystics across traditions consistently describe energy depletion following ecstatic experiences. Teresa of Avila, the 16th century Spanish mystic, wrote about feeling physically exhausted after her divine encounters, so depleted she could barely move. This pattern appears with remarkable consistency across mystical traditions worldwide, suggesting a genuine energetic exchange rather than mere psychological fatigue. Looking at linguistic connections reveals how deeply this understanding permeates human consciousness. Words for spirit, breath, and life force share common roots across unrelated languages. The Greek pneuma, Hebrew ruach, Sanskrit prana, Chinese ki, and Polynesian mana all simultaneously denote breath, spirit, and vital energy, suggesting a universal recognition of this subtle life essence. Even our emotional vocabulary contains implicit energy concepts. We speak of being drained by certain people, having our energy sapped by negative environments, or feeling uplifted by positive interactions. These aren't merely metaphors, but intuitive recognitions of actual energetic exchanges occurring constantly beneath our awareness. The Corpus Hermeticum, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, but likely compiled in the 2nd or 3rd century CE, explicitly describes techniques for quintessence extraction and refinement. The vital essence of all appears in manifestations, not for itself, but for the ones who can perceive it. The essence rises and descends in cycles, feeding those above and transmuting below. This ancient text describes a cosmic energy cycle remarkably similar to Monroe's account of Louch collection. The Nag Hammadi text, the Apocryphon of John, contains this passage about archonic energy harvesting. They created an artificial spirit in the likeness of the spirit who had descended, to pollute the real spirit through it. It is through this that all the world became poor, from the beginning until now. For they wanted to capture that power and bring it down into the unclean womb. Monroe himself described the Louch economy in vivid detail. Someone, somewhere, or both, requires, needs, likes, values, collects, drinks, eats, or uses a substance identified as Louch. In its natural state, it was found that Louch originated from a series of vibratory actions in the carbon-oxygen cycle, the residue of which was Louch in various degrees of purity. These detailed accounts across millennia and continents point to a consistent observation of a genuine phenomenon. This understanding raises profound questions. If emotions generate harvestable energy, who benefits when society produces mass fear or anger? The ancient Gnostics believed that archons deliberately engineered social conditions to maximize emotional harvesting. They saw societal institutions not as serving human interests, but as sophisticated energy farms, designed to generate specific emotional frequencies. Modern marketing, entertainment, and news media excel at triggering intense emotional responses, particularly fear, outrage, and desire. Could these systems be functioning, whether by design or by accident, as Louch production mechanisms? The question isn't as conspiratorial as it might initially sound when we consider that emotional manipulation is the explicit goal of many of these industries. Another paradox emerges when we consider spiritual traditions simultaneously warning against emotional reactivity, yet encouraging passionate devotion. This apparent contradiction resolves when we understand that unconscious emotional reactions produce lower-grade energy easily harvested by others, while conscious, directed emotional states generate higher-grade energy that primarily benefits the individual. To understand emotional energy exchange, consider the analogy of photosynthesis. Plants convert sunlight into stored chemical energy through a remarkable process that transforms one energy form into another. Similarly, humans convert experience into emotional energy through our responses to life events. Just as plants can be harvested for their stored energy, humans can have their emotional energy extracted, whether they're aware of it or not. Another useful metaphor is the hydroelectric dam. Water naturally flows downhill, but by creating resistance to that flow, we can generate electricity. Similarly, when we resist the natural flow of emotional experience through repression, denial, or judgment, we create an energetic charge that can be harvested. This explains why emotional resistance often leaves us more depleted than emotional acceptance. From an economic perspective, we can view this energy exchange as a cosmic marketplace, where emotional states represent different currencies with varying exchange rates. Fear and anger are like pennies, easy to produce in large quantities, but of limited value. Love and compassion are like gold, harder to generate but intrinsically more valuable and versatile. So how can we consciously participate in this energy exchange rather than being unconsciously harvested? The answer lies in practices found across spiritual traditions worldwide. First, awareness itself changes the equation. Simply recognizing that emotional states generate harvestable energy immediately shifts your relationship to your emotions. Rather than being unconsciously triggered, you begin to observe your emotional responses with greater detachment, reducing their capacity to drain your energy. Second, emotional transmutation techniques allow you to convert lower vibrational states into higher ones. Ancient alchemical texts describe this process using metallurgical metaphors, turning lead into gold. But they were really talking about transforming dense emotional energies like fear and anger into refined states like compassion and joy. Third, Practices that generate coherence between heart, mind, and body create more efficient energy systems, less susceptible to unwanted harvesting. Meditation, qigong, certain forms of prayer, and conscious breathing all increase your energetic coherence, making your vital essence more available to you and less available to others. Most importantly, conscious energy cultivation practices found in traditions worldwide allow you to generate higher quality emotional energies intentionally rather than reactively. These refined energies not only resist harvesting, but actually attract beneficial energetic exchanges. Monroe himself discovered that by consciously shifting his perspective and emotional state regarding Lauch, he transformed his experience from one of victimization to one of conscious participation in cosmic creation. His initial horror at being farmed for energy gave way to understanding that his emotional energy contributed to the greater whole in ways that ultimately benefited all consciousness. Conscious emotional transmutation doesn't just prevent unwanted energy harvesting. It transforms us into conscious co-creators in the cosmic energy exchange. By understanding and applying these ancient principles in modern life, we reclaim our energetic sovereignty while contributing our finest emotional essences to the greater whole by choice, rather than by unconscious default. The hidden energy economy isn't something to fear, but something to consciously engage with. As we develop emotional mastery, we move from being unconscious producers to conscious participants in the cosmic exchange of vital essence. And in doing so, we fulfill what may be one of humanity's highest purposes: the conscious generation of the most refined and beautiful emotional energies, love, compassion, wonder, and joy, as our greatest contribution to the universe. If you'd like to explore the fascinating history of emotional energy across ancient traditions, I recommend The Secret History of Consciousness by Meg Blackburn Lucy, which traces these concepts from prehistoric shamanic practices to modern science. And for a mind-bending fictional exploration of these themes, Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials trilogy brilliantly dramatizes a world where human energy is explicitly harvested by interdimensional beings. Next time you experience a powerful emotion, pause and notice what's happening energetically. Feel the tangible force it generates within your body. In that moment of awareness, you've taken the first step toward conscious participation in the hidden energy economy that connects all beings across all dimensions of existence. If this exploration of emotional energy dynamics resonated with you, spread the word to others who might benefit from understanding this hidden aspect of reality. Leave a comment sharing your own experiences with emotional energy exchange. Times when you felt inexplicably drained or mysteriously energized by certain situations or people. Your insights might illuminate patterns others have experienced but never understood. And remember, awareness itself is the first step toward transforming any unconscious pattern into conscious choice.